Hi everyone, this is the Nordic Venture Show, your guide to the exciting world of Nordic startups and venture capital. In today's episode, we're exploring a startup called Terramonitor.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something really cool. We're talking about change detection using satellite imagery.
Sounds pretty technical.
Yeah, it sounds technical, but it's actually super fascinating. And we're going to bring it down to earth, so to speak.
Okay, good.
Because really what this is all about is kind of like having an always current view of any place on the planet. You know, whether that's a construction site or a forest, even just like a piece of land that you're curious about. And getting information about those places without actually having to like go through tons and tons of data.
So kind of like time travel, but, in the present.
Yeah, it's like time travel and also like having a superpower where you can see what's going on anywhere.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So we're going to see how a company called Terramonitor is actually making that a reality. So they're really doing some amazing things with satellite data.
Yeah. They combine this huge amount of information that's coming in from these satellites that are constantly orbiting our planet with these really powerful technologies, particularly machine learning and AI.
So we have some sources here from Terramonitor that lay out basically two things that they do. They have something called change monitoring, which is a service that they're providing to all different kinds of industries. And then they also have this thing called Terramonitor Labs, which is really cool. It's their R&D arm, so they're really pushing the boundaries of what we can do with the satellite data. So first, let's jump into their change monitoring service. What's the core challenge? Like, why is this even necessary?
Well, so, it's tough to keep track of changes over time, right? If you want to monitor an area, how do you do it? You'd have to get a satellite image from one day and then get another one. It's just a ton of work, right?
Yeah.
To compare them side by side and try to spot the differences. Super time consuming, easy to miss things. And then by the time you figured out that something has changed, it might be, too late to do anything about it.
Right. So Terramonitor's approach is about automating this entire process. Like, how does it actually work?
Well, they use something called automated processing chains. And this is basically a set of, it's like a workflow, right?
Okay.
Designed specifically for satellite images. It uses AI to do all the initial prep work. So, cleaning up the images, correcting for atmospheric distortion, making sure that the images are all lined up correctly.
Right.
So once you've got these really clean images, then that's where the change detection kicks in.
Okay. So AI is trained to spot these changes.
Yes. And they can detect all sorts of changes. It could be, the health of vegetation changing.
Okay.
Or it could be new buildings going up or, roads. And then the system automatically updates the results. So you're always getting the freshest, most up-to-date info.
So what are the biggest advantages? What are the things that jump out at you as the real benefits of using a system like this?
First of all, it's automated.
Right.
So that saves a ton of time and resources. You don't have to have people sitting there manually comparing these images all day long.
Yeah.
And then, it actually sends you notifications when something changes. Imagine you're trying to, make sure that a construction project is on track.
Right.
You don't have to, keep checking it every single day. The system will tell you if something's changed.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this whole visualization aspect, right? They give you these tools so you can actually see where the changes have happened and what kind of changes they are.
Oh, okay.
But here's the really cool thing. Each change actually has a timestamp.
Oh.
So, you can see exactly when it happened. So you can prove that a certain change took place on a certain day.
So that's really useful for all sorts of things compliance with environmental regulations or tracking a big construction project, seeing if things are moving along on schedule.
Exactly. And this is all based on satellite imagery. It can work for a tiny little area or a huge massive region. It doesn't matter.
So it scales.
It scales. And it's constantly monitoring. So
Yeah.
you're always getting new results whenever something changes. So you're always making decisions based on the most current information.
So basically this change monitoring service just sounds like a game changer. It gives you these up-to-date visual records of what's happening and, takes all the guesswork out of it.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's talk about Terramonitor Labs. So this sounds like, where they're really kind of experimenting with new ideas and pushing the boundaries. What's their role there?
So Terramonitor Labs is their R&D division. They're working on these larger, more complex projects. They're collaborating with other companies, research groups, universities.
Interesting.
They're really good at using optical satellite data. That's kind of their specialty. And combining it with other types of data so they can extract even more information.
So let's dive into some of these specific projects. I mean, they have a whole bunch of them going on. So where do we even begin to understand what kind of stuff they're working on?
Well, I mean, there's so many interesting projects. But maybe we could start with one called green calibration. It's really cool. So to understand it, you have to, think about how satellite data needs to be super accurate.
Right. Okay.
Especially if you're, trying to track climate change, biodiversity loss, or, if you're analyzing how much carbon is being stored in forests.
Carbon sequestration.
Yeah, exactly. So the instruments on the satellites, they need to be calibrated really carefully.
It's like making sure that your scientific instruments are working properly.
Exactly, accurate readings.
Exactly. And so green calibration is all about designing and actually building an automated calibration site in southern Finland.
So it's like a reference point for the satellites.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's this constant, reliable way to make sure that the satellite imagery is accurate. And if you think about it, this has huge implications, right?
Yeah.
If you've got more accurate data, then you can build better climate models, you can make smarter conservation decisions.
Yeah, it's like garbage in, garbage out.
Right. Yeah. So green calibration is really important for making sure that we have trustworthy environmental data.
Okay, so let's talk about another project that caught your eye.
All right, well, there's this project called Terramonitor. And this is a really, really practical application. This is all about making electricity networks work better and making our power grids more reliable.
Okay.
So this is a cloud-based system
Okay.
that lets people who operate power grids keep an eye on vegetation that's near power lines. Because, vegetation can cause major problems.
Yeah, like falling trees, branches.
Exactly, especially during storms or, heavy winds.
Yeah.
So Terramonitor actually uses something called vegetation indices, which are really cool. So it's basically like a health score for plants that you can actually see from space.
So they can tell if the trees are healthy or not.
Exactly. So they can quickly identify areas where trees are stressed or diseased, which means they're more likely to fall down.
Makes sense.
So Terramonitor helps people fix problems faster when there's a power outage. And even better, it can help them prevent problems in the first place.
Okay.
By showing them where vegetation is getting too close to power lines. They can go in and trim it before it causes an outage. And it can even find new structures that have been built near the network.
That could be really useful for security, too.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then during extreme weather, like, a big storm,
Okay.
it can show how the vegetation has been affected so people can respond more quickly and maybe even prevent further damage.
So it's like a real-time damage assessment tool. Okay. So that's a pretty tangible benefit, People's lights stay on.
Right.
All right. So let's shift back to the environmental side of things for a second. There's a project called Forest Carbon Monitoring Forestry Tap.
Yes.
So this seems like a big deal, especially these days with all the concern about climate change.
Absolutely, yeah. This project is about developing this platform that can monitor the amount of carbon that's stored in forests.
And why is that important?
Well, forests are really important for absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So if we can accurately measure and track how much carbon they're storing, it's like a crucial piece of the climate change puzzle, right?
Right.
And this platform uses both satellite data and data from the ground to get a really complete picture.
So they're combining the big picture view from space
Right.
with the more detailed information from, people on the ground.
Exactly.
To get a much clearer understanding of what's actually happening.
Yeah. It's all about having better systems for carbon accounting in forestry.
Okay. All right. Now, this one is really interesting. Hayden H 2020. So this one's a medical project.
It is. It's a medical project.
And they're using satellite imagery.
It's surprising, right?
It's pretty amazing how they're finding all these different ways to use this technology.
Absolutely.
So how does this work?
So this project, HADAMED, it's all about immune-mediated diseases.
Okay.
And Terramonitor is contributing data and studying how the environment might affect these diseases.
Okay.
And they're using satellite imagery to do this, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking for connections between things that you can measure from space.
Okay.
Like air quality, changes in vegetation,
Sure.
even things like urbanization,
Okay.
and how those things might be linked to, how common these diseases are.
Or how severe they are.
Yeah, exactly. It was really highlighting how interconnected our health and the environment are.
Yeah.
It's not something we always think about, but it's like right there in front of us. And each 2020 was this huge European Union research and innovation program.
Okay.
So it was a big deal. And it ran for like 3 years, from 2020 to 2023.
Okay.
And there are all these partners across Europe working on it.
So it's a big collaborative effort.
Huge, huge effort.
Right. So there's another project that's kind of interesting. Forestry change detection Finnish government.
Yes. So this one's really cool. So Terramonitor developed this tool for like the Finnish Forest Center to detect logging activities.
Yeah.
And they're using Sentinel-2 satellite imagery for this.
So again, it's about that change detection capability.
Yeah.
But applied to a specific industry.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And it's really accurate. Like they can really pinpoint where logging is happening.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to give people a sense of like the range of stuff that Terramonitor is working on,
Yeah.
they're involved in all these other initiatives too.
Right. Yeah, there's like GloBoreMap, which is all about like boreal forest inventory. And they've got partnerships with like Mesialaitos, which is like the Finnish Forest Administration.
Okay.
They're working on like improving forest inventory data.
Wow.
And then like there's a project called SatNet with the European Space Agency.
Okay.
That's all about smart grids and like better ways to distribute electricity.
And they're also doing SRUB mapping for the ESA.
Yes, exactly.
Which is like identifying shrubs that could be harmful.
Yeah. And then like they even got recognized by the Copernicus Business Incubation Program as a really innovative company.
So they're really like at the forefront of this.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is amazing. Like everything from environmental monitoring to infrastructure management to medical research, it's all being touched by this like combination of satellite data and AI. So let's talk about the technology itself. Like what's actually making all of this possible?
So as we've been saying, it's all about using cutting-edge AI to extract like real insights from all this satellite imagery.
Okay.
So the team at Terramonitor, they're experts in both remote sensing, which is like the science of understanding satellite data, and machine learning, which is about developing these algorithms that can learn from and analyze this data.
Okay. So it's not just about having the images, right? It's about actually like making sense of them, understanding what they're telling us.
Yep.
So what are some of the like key technological aspects that make all of this work?
Well, I mean, one of the key things is their image analysis capabilities. They're using these AI algorithms that are way more advanced than just like comparing two images side by side. They can pick up on subtle patterns, anomalies, things that a human might miss. So they can like do these really detailed land cover classifications, monitor vegetation health super precisely, and like assess the condition of infrastructure.
So it's like they're seeing things that we can't see with the naked eye.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And another thing is that they're really big on developing custom solutions. So they're not just like taking a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
They work closely with their clients to tailor the AI models to the specific project, which is really important.
That's great because it means that it can be used for so many different applications.
Yeah, for sure. And then like their infrastructure is super scalable. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at a tiny little site or like dealing with massive data sets.
They've got the computing power.
Exactly. They use cloud computing. They've got these optimized algorithms. So they can handle pretty much anything. And then there's the fact that you can constantly observe any area.
Right. We talked about that.
Yeah. So you're getting these up-to-date views. And they can provide like extra information like vegetation indices and false color maps.
And what are false color maps?
So it's basically like they highlight different types of land cover using different colors. So it's easier to see changes that you might not see in a regular image. So it's like it's making the invisible visible, right?
It's like giving you X-ray vision.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, this all sounds amazing, but I'm sure some people are listening and thinking, okay, this is great, but like, can I actually use this? Like, how accessible is this technology?
So Terramonitor is really designed for GIS professionals. So people who work with geospatial data. And they've made it really easy to integrate with existing systems. So like, if you're already using GIS software, you can probably just plug Terramonitor in.
That's great.
Yeah, it's not like you have to replace everything. You can just kind of add it on.
Right.
And they have an open API.
Okay.
So it's really flexible. You can connect it to other systems. So, it's designed to be usable.
Practical.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not just some like theoretical thing that only scientists can use?
Nope. It's real world stuff.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about change detection, we talked about Terramonitor labs and all the cool projects they're working on, and we talked about the technology that's making all of this possible. So what's the main takeaway here?
I mean, the main thing is that Terramonitor is providing this incredibly powerful service, right? It's this automated, intelligent way to monitor our planet, which is constantly changing.
Yeah.
And they're doing it by combining this amazing satellite technology with the cutting edge of AI.
Right.
And that's enabling them to deliver valuable insights to all these different industries.
And for you, our listener, this technology is really a way to understand our planet better. It's like it gives you a shortcut to understanding how things are changing,
Right.
whether you're worried about deforestation or you want to keep an eye on critical infrastructure, or even if you're interested in medical research, right?
Yep.
This is all becoming a reality. It's not science fiction anymore.
And that brings up an interesting question. I mean, now that we have this ability to continuously monitor our planet in this automated way, what does it mean for us? What new questions does it raise about how our planet is changing and our role in all of it?
And as this technology keeps evolving, what other unexpected applications are we going to see? I mean, this is just the beginning. It's pretty exciting to think about.
For sure.
So that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time.
See you.
Thanks for listening to the Nordic Venture Show. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of innovation from the Nordics.